Hi guys, it's Kino. Welcome to another video. So today's reading is going to be the story of your twin flame or soulmate journey, starting from your past lives to your current life experiences, all the way to your union, and then the relationship after that. So there's going to be 4 readings for you guys to choose from today, and I'm going to do each reading with a different deck, so you guys can pick whichever deck you feel drawn to the most. And I will also leave the names of all of these decks in the description for you. So we have number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. So as always, take all the time you need to pick. You can pause the video if you need to. I'm going to go ahead and get started with number 1. Hi number ones. So if you chose this black deck right here, this is the story of your twin flame or soulmate union. So as you can see, I've already laid out some of the cards in a nice heart shape. And the way I'm thinking of this is this point at the top here is like your past lives, who you are as souls, what you have been through together. Then when you branch out here, this is like you being born, coming into the world. So this is like your early life, then your grown-up life, the moment right before your union, and then your union. So each side of the heart represents a different counterpart. Now I'm going to be reading these as person A and person B, so that when you listen, you can determine for yourself which side of the heart is resonating for you and which side is resonating for your counterpart. Oh yes, and then I also have these 3 cards here that we'll look at the very end, and this is going to be the story after the union, what comes after that. So for the first point of the heart, this is who you guys are as souls and the experiences that you've had together up until now, and you have the Justice card. Now Justice is ruled by Libra energy, it's the 7th house, so it is really like the other half. This is really your person. You're like, what is it called? The A side and the B side, 2 sides of the same coin. There's also, I noticed, a lot of major arcana in this spread. So I am getting a very strong twin flame feeling. There's also the number 11 here. And I see that you guys really balance each other out. It's like this yin yang sort of energy. And I feel like you've been through a lot together. You've really been through a lot, and some not so pleasant experiences as well. The feeling that I got with Justice, with having the scales on it, is that you guys are clearing a lot of karma in this lifetime, and then starting to accumulate good karma, and finally bringing about that union that you've wanted for such a long time. And I also got the feeling that you guys have had a lot of tough experiences in past lives, because as people, you hadn't really done the inner work that you needed to do. And so when you got together, things always kind of went badly. Like you hurt each other, or you abandoned each other, or you just passed each other by, and things like that. And the thing that I was feeling is like, in this lifetime, you two made a promise, like, we're gonna get it right. And so you like planned not to meet or not to come together until you did all that work, because it would just be too painful to go through that experience again, where you like meet each other and come together and it doesn't work and you fall apart. Going through that is just way too heartbreaking. And so as much as it may hurt, like if you're in separation with this person right now, where you've been really waiting to meet them and you haven't met them yet, I think that that was something you decided to actually protect yourself and keep this union safe. To keep this union safe and make sure you really get things right. Now with this Justice energy here, and I'm kind of skipping ahead here, but with the star at the bottom representing your union, I'm getting the feeling that both of you throughout your lives will be very romantic and always kind of looking for that one person, always kind of looking for the one, and having that dream, you know, because this is like hopes and dreams for the future, and, you know, being idealistic. And then with the Libra energy, Justice is quite romantic as well. You have it as like it's like a distant dream. It's like that North Star. And I think both of you will sort of feel that encounter with the one as a destination of sorts, as like a long-term goal. Like someday I'm going to meet the one, someday I'm going to find them. And it's very idealized. But at some times throughout your lives, it will feel too good to be true. You know, maybe there isn't someone like that out there, or maybe I'm never going to find them. But it's like that wishing upon a star sort of feeling. And you may even actually have dreams about each other before you meet. Maybe when you were younger, you see them in your dreams, or you have an imaginary friend when you're younger and it's actually this person's higher self. I think that you've sort of slipped into each other's lives from a soul perspective, even before meeting. But you have that sort of ideal dream in the long-term future to come together with like the one, the soulmate. I feel like heavy romanticism from both sides. So let's get into coming into this lifetime. So I'll start with this side here. This is person A. So for person A's early life, we have the Empress. And so this could be a person who is quite feminine. It doesn't matter the gender. Quite feminine, or they had a strong presence of females around them. As you can see from this card, the womanhood is very prevalent, very protruding. It's very present. So they could have like grown up around a lot of women or just been a feminine person. And this card is it's the card of abundance and prosperity. So it makes me think that person A, this person likely had quite a secure childhood where all of their needs were met, whether that was material needs, like their parents bought them anything that they wanted, or they got a lot of attention, a lot of affection, a lot of reassurance. And I'm even feeling sometimes it could have gone over a little bit, especially if there was a lot of relatives around them. Like, for example, like they're the baby of the family and they're getting all this attention. Maybe they could have got spoiled sometimes, because there is a lot of love and devotion in this card. So I'm kind of getting the feeling like that. They didn't really go without. They had a lot of love, a lot of attention around them, and possibly many female figures, or that their mother was a very significant figure in their early life, like a mother or a sister or something. Now we have the Eight of Cups for person B. So this is kind of opposite. I feel person B was more of a loner as a child, and they didn't really mind that. Generally, this card has the imagery of somebody just going off on their own. So this would be probably a kid who was kind of the black sheep, or felt like they were always different than other people, maybe didn't fit in so well. But I'm really not getting the feeling that it bothered them that much. I think they sort of went off on their own, like of their own accord. And I'm feeling that they just were generally a lot, like their mind was a lot deeper. They always felt like, even from a very young age, that there was a deeper meaning to life. So this would be quite a spiritual person. Maybe they had spiritual or psychic experiences as a child, but they were just kind of on a different level, kind of on a deeper level. Maybe at times they felt pressure to, dim that down so that they could fit in with the other people around them. But I'm not getting the feeling that they did it that much, because they had such a rich inner world. There's a very artistic and creative energy to this card as well, with the water energy of cups. I think that they were very, like, they could keep themselves entertained for hours and hours with their mind, or daydreaming, creating stories. They just had a very, very vivid imagination, and there's something kind of different about them. Maybe they were a little bit more introverted as well, but I feel like this side here, this would be a highly the side that is more in tune with their spirituality. So we have a little bit different energy starting off. So back to person A, when they get older, there's definitely a feeling of wanting to branch off and become independent, because we have this Judgment card, and that's sort of like finding your calling and then stepping up to the plate. Is that the expression? Stepping up and going out there. There's a feeling of maturity and making an important decision for yourself. So I think that as they got older, maybe they realized, like, you know, I've been given so much in my life, like so much support, so many resources, and now I want to try to make something for myself. I want to see what I can do and reach my potential independently. And it may have been a kind of like aggressive, if that's the right word, desire within them, because they really wanted to, you know, break away from this sort of sheltered childhood and really prove to themselves, like, I can do something on my own. I can make something of myself on my own. They want to experience that. And, you know, this judgment, they could have been a little bit critical of themselves as well. If I take the judgment meaning literally, like maybe thinking of their past, like they relied too much on others, or they were always like maybe more clinging to people, is quite different kind of energy. This person really doesn't give a hoot like who is around them. Very kind of loner, independent. And who knows, maybe person A would have been that way as well, but just because of maybe the environment that they were born into, they got used to having that support and having that help around. So anyway, I think in their older life, they want to get out there and, you know, prove something. They want to show that they can do something. And I see a stepping out on this side as well with person B, with the world, stepping out into the world. This could be maybe that they left home, they left the nest pretty early on. As soon as they were able to, they left, they went out into the world. This world card can also indicate that they are from a different background, a different country than their counterpart. And this could kind of go two ways. Either person B has to travel, go somewhere for this union, or they have to reach a certain level of success or a certain level of prominence to make this union work. And it could actually be both. Like some people, you know, leave home and go overseas to pursue their career, or they go overseas to study. So this could be a really important factor in this union, that person B is relocating. And it makes sense that they're the one to do it, because they like came out the womb and they were ready to bounce, you know. Like they had always that thirst to find a deeper meaning and a thirst for adventure. Whereas I think this energy was more like reluctant, or it came more from a place of like wanting to prove something, like I said. But either way, they're both left the nest, step out, doing their thing, and it's all good. So now let's look at the moment before these two counterparts come together. So on person A's side, we have the Five of Pentacles, and this is, you know, a feeling of lack or a feeling of loneliness and wanting change in their life. Maybe when they stepped out and created this life for themselves, it wasn't everything that they expected. Maybe they started to beat themselves up a lot that, you know, they couldn't do this thing on their own. It's kind of an interesting dynamic, because of course all of us need support and community and love and attention to make our dreams come true. But I think the person A may have started to like push that away. Do you know what I mean? Like, because they had so much of it early on that they developed a sort of aversion to it. Like they went, like the pendulum just swung the whole other way, and they sort of missed that middle mark where you're independent, but you also have support and you also let people help you. I think they went a little bit too far the other way, and then they got kind of lost and they started to feel lonely and like craving that support and companionship again. So it's a bit of a lack energy. On the traditional tarot deck, you can see the people, they're walking outside in the cold and they're hunched over. So this may be how person A feels right before the union. Very alone and a little bit lost and wanting change in their life, because the number 5 is indicative of change. Now over here with person B, right before the union, I think that they're doing well in their life, but they've been through a lot. Imagine somebody who has come out of a battle and they're triumphant, they're victorious, but they have a lot of scars on their face from the stuff that they've been through. So when they went out into the world, probably they got hurt a lot. They maybe faced rejection or been in relationships that have hurt them. And while they have, I think, recovered it, because strength is about, mastering your emotions and overcoming difficulties, I feel like they are kind of scarred and in a way almost not expecting this to happen. Like I said in the beginning, a lot of times throughout their lives, they will feel like this union or finding the one is too good to be true. And that's exactly the energy that this person is going to be in right before the union. Like, I guess it's not really the case after all, but I've had an okay life, and they've sort of accepted it. They sort of accepted it and moved on. And so for this union to happen, it's gonna like hit both of these counterparts like a huge truck. It's just gonna hit them in the face. Like, what? Excuse me? Because you can see person A is kind of at a low place in their life where they're feeling a little bit lost. They could even be struggling with their career or with money, or just feeling quite lonely, kind of feeling like a loser. And that doesn't mean that they are, but I think that that's kind of how they're going to feel. Whereas person B is going to be in this place where, like, there's a lot of negative stuff in life, there's a lot of pain in life, but I've come to peace with it. That's just going to be my life. There's going to be hardships and obstacles, and I'm just going to be strong and face them. And has sort of accepted that fate. And then boom, there's this star. So it's like way too good to be true, completely unexpected. I feel like both counterparts will kind of not really believe it. It will be so hard to believe that like it's actually here, especially if you've had the experience of dreaming about this person before meeting them, and now they're in front of you and you're like, no, wait, what? No. Almost like denying it, almost in denial. You really can't believe it, that this dream came true. You never thought it was going to. It will be like this surreal moment, I think. So let's look at these three cards, because we want to see what happens after the two people come together and have their union. There's 5 of Wands, the Hermit, and the Lovers. Aw, what a sweet card to end on. So the 5 of Wands, it is about conflict. It can be inner conflict or outer conflict. So a couple ways I can interpret this is that you will maybe butt heads a little bit in the beginning. Nothing too serious, but I think there will be a lot of things that you don't see eye to eye on, especially if you're from different backgrounds and having such different upbringings. There could just be, some things that you don't agree with each other on, and it kind of, I don't see you like fighting or anything like that, but you may kind of doubt, oh, I don't know if this is really my person, because we seem to disagree on so many things. But this can also be conflict from the outside. So maybe you meet and then you don't see each other for a really long time because of outside circumstances. It's very hard to see each other again. It could have to do with your career. It could have to do with the people around you. You could simply just not know how to communicate each other if this is like a chance encounter, because we do have the Hermit, which does show a period of separation and of being alone. Even after you meet once, I feel like you'll come apart again, and there will be maybe a kind of long period where you're not seeing each other or not talking to each other, but it gives you a lot of time to reflect on the situation and decide what you really want out of a relationship, and decide whether these differences or these outside barriers are worth fighting through and working through together. And I think you will come to the conclusion that yes, they're absolutely worth it, because you have never ever felt the same way about anybody else than this person. Even if you just met them for like 5 seconds and then you've been in relationships in the past for months or years, it's not the same feeling. Like nobody can replicate that feeling. And so through this kind of long separation and this time alone, you can come to that conclusion so that, look at this, when you come back together, you will be like this. Like, I'm not letting you go, bitch. What do you think? Oh, you thought you were gonna, no, no, you're stuck with me now. Like this. And look how sweet it is. It's like, you know those hugs that are really, 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 really long? That's what I'm thinking of. Like, you are not going anywhere, my friend. You are not going anywhere. Yay! So that is the story of your twin flame union. Thank you very, very much for letting me read for you. I hope you liked this kind of new style of reading. Hopefully I made it easy enough to follow. I know I was going back and forth quite a bit, but I hope you have a wonderful day or night whenever you're watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like doing that, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye! Hi number twos, so if you chose this yellow deck right here, this is going to be your reading. So as you can see, I've laid out some cards already in a heart shape. So the way I was thinking to do this is that this point here at the top of the heart, this is going to represent your souls, like your higher selves, who you've been together in past lives. And then when the heart comes up like this and separates, this is like you guys being born. So this represents your early life, then your grown-up life, then the moments before the union, and then this point at the bottom is your union. So it's like you separate and come back together like this. And so each side of the heart is going to represent different counterparts. And then I also have an extra 3 cards here, and these are going to represent what happens after the union. Now when I read this, I'm going to read it like person A and person B, so you can listen and determine which one of the sides is resonating for you and which one of the sides is resonating for your counterpart. So let's start at the top here. We have the Knight of Swords. Now I was thinking with this card, you guys feel to me like your souls are best friends. So you have had a ton of lives together and you really like working together. I know it's kind of a funny way to put it, but you know, our lifetimes are like lessons, they're learning experiences. And I think that you guys are like the 2 kids in the class who work really well together. So you're best friends, but the teacher always lets you work together, like this kind of thing. And you guys have been killing it. I think you've been doing really, really well with this Knight of Swords energy. I also think that you guys have been in each other's lives with different roles. So not always necessarily romantically, but maybe sometimes you're like in the same family, maybe sometimes you're friends. It could be many different things. And I think you guys are you're very bright souls. Like I know it sounds weird to say bright. I mean bright like intelligent or eager. Like your souls are eager beavers. And you really want to learn, you really want to experience things. And I think you've had a lot of lifetimes together, like I said. And I think for this lifetime, you guys have kind of chosen a harder one. It's like you played the game on easy a few times and you work really, really well together. So now you want to try something a little bit more challenging, because the Knight of Swords, it is about overcoming challenges. Yes, so now let's get into your early lives. Now on this side over here with person A, we have the 6 of Wands, and this says to me that very early on in this person's life, it became clear that they had some special talent, like they were really good at something, and that became their identity really early on, and they got a lot of praise and recognition and popularity from it. It could really be anything, like maybe they were that smart kid at school, and so that became their identity. They were like the smart kid, and so their parents were always praising them, teachers were always praising them. Or maybe they were the kid who was really athletic, and so again, a lot of praise. And I think they had a lot of friends at school, and they felt really good about themselves as a kid, because, you know, when your parents tell you you're really smart, you're like, yeah, I'm really smart, and you just go with it, right? Because you don't have any Like, not to say that you aren't smart. I just mean that any praise that someone gives you, you just take that and soak it in. And any negativity people give you at that age as well, you just soak it in. So luckily for them, they had very positive experiences where they were being told a lot of great things, like, you're so great, you're so smart, you're so talented, whatever it was. And they had a lot of people around them. So they felt really, really good about themselves in their early life. Now, as you can probably tell, over here with person B, it's not really the same story. This person B is coming through as the Three of Swords. So this tells me that they had a very painful childhood. And because of the cards that come up later, which I will get to, I have a feeling that this has to do with something with the parents, like losing a parent, or the parents got divorced, or a bad relationship with the parents, like the parents neglected or abandoned them or something like this. And as a result, throughout their lives, they will be kind of a very anxious person, like always looking over their shoulder, always stressing, because they feel like nobody's like there to help them, no one has their back. And they've sort of learned not to trust people. So it's a little bit more of a rough start with this side. It's actually very sad. Early life for person B. Now moving into the grown-up life, we have the Six of Wands coming into the Seven of Cups. So, I was saying in the beginning, like, when you're young, you just accept whatever people tell you with no questioning, especially whatever your parents or older people tell you. But I think that as person A grew up, they looked at all these people around them and all this attention they were getting, and they started to think, is this real? Are these people actually, around me and actually liking me for who I truly am on the inside? Or do they just think I'm cool, or they just want something from me? Especially if this Six of Wands led to them, gaining a following, maybe, to think of it in a modern way, like they got a ton of followers because they were really good at this thing. They started to get public recognition. Especially in those cases, this would be kind of hard for them. Like they blew up when they were really young, like a teenager or even younger. And then when they're older, they look at the people in their life and they're like, do these people really love me for me? Or are they just here for the hype or the clout or whatever it is? And then they start to feel a little overwhelmed with all these people. And how do I know, who is real and who I can trust and who isn't? And it starts to feel a little bit lonely. All these cups around him, and yet he's lonely. So they just start to put this into question, And even that identity. Like if they were labeled the smart kid really early on, and then, they get into university, for example, now their grades are average. It's like, well, that's their whole identity gone. That's everything they identified with when they were younger. Everything that made them feel worthy and loved is now gone, and they have to find out who they are outside of that and who wants to stick around. So it's kind of a tough place for them when they get older. Now for person B, it's also, tough childhood, a little bit tough of a grown-up life as well, but they've learned to cope with whatever trauma, whatever pain they've experienced in their childhood. They've learned to live with it. And it's not that those feelings of anxiety or those feelings of resentment have gone away. They've just learned how to control them and learn to find happiness in their lives. So they really took, instead of being a victim to their past, they said, okay, I have these wounds, and I can either let them keep growing and festering, or I can put an end to it and choose happiness. And so even though, thinking about it is still painful, they've learned to move on. They've learned to be happy. So I would say that person B has a little bit of a faster maturation. I don't know how to pronounce that word. Maturing. They have a bit of a faster maturing on this side, where by the time they're an adult, they're really independent by necessity. And they really know how to process their emotions. Whereas person A over here is just kind of starting to figure all of that out and just starting to put everything into question. Now we go to the moment before the union. So person A, I think, will be at a place where, you know, they've had this sort of confusion, this sort of overwhelming feeling. They fought with a little bit of loneliness and feeling lost, and they said, okay, if I want to understand better who likes me for me, then it's on me to figure out who that is. Because I've always just gone with, you know, the identity that was put on me when I was younger. If I want to start creating meaningful relationships, I have to sort of reinvent myself and find my true identity, find my true self. And so they're like the Hierophant, taking the power back. And this is a card of, you know, aligning with your higher self and learning, like accumulating deeper knowledge. So in this context, to me, it feels like soul searching. And this is also a card of mentors and education. They could be getting counseling, or they could be reading a lot of books and watching a lot of videos about, you know, discovering yourself and learning to love yourself, reinventing yourself, these kind of things. But they're taking it into their own hands and doing a lot of growing as a result. So they're doing a lot better now. Now, with person B before the union, they're going to have a lot on their plate with these 10 wands. I think person B is going to be extremely busy with work, with friendships, with family, whatever it is. They're going to have a lot, and they're going to kind of be multitasking a lot of things on their own, like carrying a lot on their own. Now, with this 10 of wands in particular, usually the 10 of wands guy on the card, he's like hunched over, he looks like he's in pain. But I feel like person B is so used to it, having all of this weight on them, or having, you know, so much responsibility, so much to carry. So again, it's not really, I feel like it's not really bothering them. They're just carrying their weight, very, very busy. Probably meeting someone is the last thing on their mind. And then we have the union, and this is the 9 of Cups. For some reason, I'm getting the feeling this is meeting at a social gathering, at an event, through a friend or something like that. Is that a meaning of the card? I'm not sure, but that's the feeling that I got. And the two people you guys will take a liking to each other immediately. The conversation will go really well. They tick a lot of boxes. You know, physically, they are your type. You have a lot of the same interests. So you get along really, really well right away. Now, whenever the 9 of Cups comes out, maybe this is just me being pessimistic, but I always think it's not the 10 of Cups, it's the 9 of Cups. And maybe that makes sense because you've just met each other. But I feel like there's something preventing both of you from being like, oh my gosh, love at first sight. This is the one, this is my soulmate. You're holding back a little bit, and I think that's why it's the 9 of Cups. Because you've both kind of had experiences that lead you to distrust people. And it's very interesting because even though you had like polar opposite experiences in your childhood, it taught you the same thing. Person A realized through too many people crowding around them that, oh my gosh, I can't trust all of these people because a lot of them are fake, or a lot of them don't really care about me like that. And then person B realized, simply because no one was there for them, okay, I can't trust people. Same end result, but much different. Isn't that soulmates? Same but different. Yeah, so you really, really like each other right off the bat, get along really well, but you're just holding back a little bit. Let's take it slow and see how it goes. And that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly healthy. You'll probably, that's the word, probably also feel, you know, a lot of familiarity with this person, whether it's a spiritual realization, like I know you, or if it's just, I'm getting along really naturally with you. Like, this is just effortless. This is so pleasant. There's sort of a feeling of familiarity. So now let's look at these 3 cards, because this is going to show what happens after this union. We want to see what happens after you guys meet for the first time. So we have the 7 of Swords, the 5 of Cups, and the Page of Cups. Okay, so the Seven of Swords makes a lot of sense to me coming out, taking into consideration everything we have seen with your life experiences, because this is a card of deception or betrayal. And so I'm sort of taking this card, I'm interpreting it as representing your distrust, your general distrust for people. You know, person A is still a work in progress with, you know, figuring out who they are and who they want to be in this life. And so they're just a little bit wary. And then person B is just so used to, I think, relying only on themselves and doing the important things alone. It's kind of that energy of, if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. Person B is really not prone to, you know, relying on people or giving, kind of being vulnerable with people, I suppose. So there's going to be a little bit of mutual distrust at the beginning. You're going to be a little bit cautious. I don't necessarily see a separation period after you guys meet. The way I'm kind of envisioning it, the way I see it is like you meet through some friends, maybe you like go out for dinner or something, and you know, person A's friend brings a friend and person B's friend brings a friend, and it's you guys, and then you meet each other like that, something like this. You exchange contact information, and then you're just both kind of wary to reach out. Maybe you text each other here and there. What are you up to today? I watched this show. I hope you have a good day. And it doesn't really continue that much. It's kind of sporadic. And it will continue like that for a while, but I don't see any ghosting or separation or anything of that nature. Just kind of a slow build. Then we have the Five of Cups after here, and it's really, I love this artwork a lot because, of course, I noticed that there's 3 cups spilled and 2 cups upright, but the way the 2 cups are here and they're illuminated and they're floating, it makes me think of this blessing that you're not looking at, this blessing that you're not seeing. And it also makes me think of the Two of Cups, indicating soulmates. So this is kind of the energy of both of you, I think, looking at your spilled cups from the past and not noticing this. Hello, this is your soulmate, this is your Two of Cups. But I think it will be this revelation that you both have, you know, with the number 5 here indicating change. This is kind of a turning point in your relationship, but also in your lives, I think, where you say, I can't live like this. I can't keep focusing on these spilled cups all the time when I have perfectly good opportunities to be happy. If I can just turn around and look at it and recognize it and take it, like, this is no way to live. And I feel that you're both going to have this realization, because maybe you're having this sort of infrequent communication and you're thinking, what am I doing? I really, really like this person. Why don't I just ask them out? Why don't I just go for it? Why am I holding back? Why do I keep thinking about this? And you know, it's because it's a conscious choice, right? You choose, okay, I'm gonna start to be more positive now, or I'm gonna start to be happy now. You have to take control. You have to take the control back, or take the power back. And I think that's what mutually you guys are going to do. And probably that was the challenging lesson that you guys decided, because remember, you work really well together and you like to learn your lessons together in pairs, and you wanted something a little bit challenging. So you said, okay, we're gonna have some questionable relationships before we meet each other. It's gonna make it harder to trust each other. It's gonna make it harder to recognize each other, but I think we can do it. What do you say? What do you say, good pal? Let's do it. So you do it, you come around, you meet each other, you have your moment of uncertainty, and then you say, you know what, enough is enough. These are my 2 cups. They're perfectly good, and I'm going to take them, because I think it's about damn time that I start enjoying my life and I start enjoying people's company. And then it leads to the Page of Cups, and this is a really, really sweet card to interpret a new romantic relationship. It's still slow and cautious. It's very innocent and pure. taking things slow, but there's a lot of really, you know, moments that make you blush, moments that give you butterflies. There's a lot of little thoughtful things that you do for each other. Like you're going to the movies and the other person brings you your favorite candy to sneak in. Like this, just those little things, and it's this really sweet and gradual build up where your heart is fluttering every time you see them, and oh my gosh, when is our first kiss gonna be? And it's just it's the purest thing ever. It's so sweet, and it's gonna feel like such a nice change, and I can't believe I ever doubted this person's feelings for me. You just get each other so well, and you genuinely like each other. There's no judgment. You don't want anything from each other, and it's just very, very beautiful. So I applaud you for overcoming this, because I know it's very difficult, especially when that distrust comes from something so early on. I think it's very hard to reverse things that you've learned or that you've internalized from your childhood. So I have to commend you guys. Hats off. And the challenge was no match for you. Okay, so that was your soulmate story. Thank you very, very much for letting me read for you. I hope that you liked this kind of new style of reading and that it was easy enough to follow. I hope you have a wonderful day or night whenever you're watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like doing that, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye! Hi, number threes. So if you chose this blue deck right here, this is your twin flame or soulmate journey. So as you can see, I've already laid a few cards out here in a heart shape. So the way I wanted to do this is this point at the top here is who you guys are as souls. So what kind of experiences you've had together in past lives, and sort of where your relationship stands before coming into this lifetime. Then where the heart separates up here, this is like you guys coming into the world, being born, so this is your early life. Then your grown-up life, then the moments right before union, and then finally this point at the bottom of the heart represents your unions, when the two lines come back together. So each side of the heart is going to represent the journey of each counterpart, and I'm going to read it as person A and person B so that you can listen to it and determine which one is resonating for you and which one is resonating for your counterpart. And I also have 3 cards here that we'll look at the very end to see what happens with you guys after this union, okay? So yeah, to start off, you guys are the 10 of water. This is equivalent to the 10 of cups. So right off the bat with this, I think you guys have had the vast majority, if not all, of your past lives together as romantic partners, because I think of this this card as like the happily ever after, the marriage, the children. It is definitely a card of love and romance. And this also suggests that you guys have actually successfully ended up together in a lot of your past lives. Definitely you are romantic soulmates. I don't think you would have had that many past lives in other roles, or maybe none at all. You just seem like there's a lot of romance, a lot of romantic love between you. And also another thing I wanted to point out is that this side is very predominantly water. Actually, if this is your union, then their individual experiences are all water, person A. So this side I think is definitely the feminine, and this side is definitely the masculine. Of course, the actual gender of the person doesn't matter. Whether you're man, woman, woman, man, woman, woman, it doesn't matter. But I think person A is the feminine one for sure, or at least the very emotional one. Okay, so let's start now with your early life. Person A for their early life has the 9 of water, which is equivalent to the 9 of cups. And this tells me that they had a pretty happy childhood, a pretty peaceful early life. They had everything they needed. They had a family that loved them, and generally didn't have any I mean, everybody has painful experiences in their early life, but I'm not picking up on any you know, serious trauma or any serious disappointments, it seems like pretty smooth sailing. Now, they may have had this sort of deep intuitive feeling that something was missing. Like, you guys are soulmates, and I think they kind of came out with a radar, because we're going from the 10 of water straight to the 9 of water. So it's kind of like, as soon as you guys separated and came into their bodies, their soul was like, wait, what's going on? Something's wrong, something's missing, because I think you guys are really inseparable. And when you're apart, it is a little bit hard for you. Even if your human body doesn't remember it, I think your soul remembers, and there is a tiny bit of distress when it comes to that. And with person A being the more very deeply emotional and sensitive one, probably they would pick up on that even more. And maybe that is why they chose to be born into a very loving family and an easier childhood, to kind of soften the impact of separating. But on some intuitive level, they definitely picked up, oh my gosh, I'm not with my soulmate anymore. What's happening? I'm feeling a little bit uneasy, a little bit uneasy. Now, on person B's end, this would be a child who is extremely independent, probably kind of hard to manage, honestly, because coming out as the king and also the king of fire, this would be one of those kids who has a lot of energy. They're running around everywhere, getting into trouble, and kind of like they think they're the boss. Their parents cannot tell them what to do. Their teachers cannot tell them what to do. They're just always, they're like a little shit stirrer. That's kind of the energy I'm getting. But just this ball of energy. But they're very well liked, you know? So it's not like they do anything with bad intentions. They just have a lot of energy, a little bit mischievous, but they're very charming and charismatic. Like this card says, this would be the kid, when they're in public, they make the adult strangers laugh, or, oh, that kid is so cute. This kind of kid, I think they got a lot of attention, person B, in their younger life, and they were always a natural leader. I think that probably person B knew from a very young age that they didn't want to be employed. They didn't want to work to make somebody else's dreams come true. They wanted to make their own dreams come true. And also with this King of Fire, I think this would be a naturally creative person. So again, from a young age in their childhood, maybe they loved drawing or writing or music, or there's something creative that they really, really excelled at. But yes, natural leader, very charming, and a ton of energy. I'm kind of thinking a kid who's a little hard to manage, but it's very, very endearing. Now, let's go over here to person A's grown-up life. So we have the Two of Water. This is equivalent to the Two of Cups. And this tells me that person A's adult life is marked by a very significant romantic relationship. Obviously not with person B. So maybe this is somebody who they really thought was their soulmate. They really thought it was their forever. And then they lost them. And so in the sort of formative years in their life, it's marked by this relationship, this heartbreak. So I think probably this is when, you know, their feelings of loneliness and their feelings of distress of being separated from person B, from their soulmate, really set in even more, because they thought this, whoever this is, was their soulmate, and it probably took them a really, really long time to get over it. I'm feeling for a lot of person A's, it may even have been their first love, who they were with for many, many years. And it's one of those situations, like, you know, people say you never stay with your first love, but for us, it's definitely going to be different. We're definitely going to make it. And because of how sensitive they are, I think they really gave everything to this person. They trusted them. They told them all their secrets. They may, for some people, they may have even been engaged or married. Like, they gave them the ring, really, and it fell apart. And I think that's really, really difficult for them. And it's kind of hard to look back on these years of their life. Now we have person B over here with a little bit different kind of struggles, but you can see that person B has been demoted from a king to a page. So I feel like what has happened here is that the king of fire, they had this creative endeavor or this thing that they were really, really good at. And they always had this instinctive feeling that they wanted to be a leader, they wanted to be self-employed. But when they sort of got out into the world, into the very competitive market, it was hard for them, or is hard for them, to succeed, especially if the thing that they're very good at is a creative endeavor. They're an artist, like an independent artist. I think that person B is finding it, or will be finding it, quite difficult to advance in their career. They're kind of staying at this amateur level or at this page level. If, for example, it's that they started their own business, I think that person B is having a really hard time getting it off the ground. And I do think that this is tough for them because their focus has always been, you know, career oriented and pursuing their dreams and being independent, and it's just proving to be a bit of a challenge for them, not because they lack the talent or the drive, but just because that's the harsh reality of the world, right? There's a lot of competition, you know, the economy is not very good, I think, and they just sort of ran into those more practical challenges of it. And so I think that in their grown-up life, they'll kind of find themselves plateauing in their career, or things are very slow. It's not everything they thought it would be, and so they're very disappointed in that way. So there are disappointments on either side, but in different aspects. Now let's look at the moments before the union. So for person A, it's the King of Water, and to me this shows a recovery from this relationship and huge emotional growth, maturing, and standing alone, standing proud, and learning to be independent. So you can see that both of these people, person A and B, have a king within them. And it's just taking, I think person A is a bit more of a late bloomer, emotionally at least. Maybe it's a matter of A being a late bloomer emotionally and B being a late bloomer professionally, and then they complement each other. You guys complement each other like that. But anyway, before the union, they're over their ex. They've learned from it. They've grown from it. And I really think they will reach a point where they don't miss that person anymore, and they learn to love again, they learn to trust again, and they're open. So if you're resonating with person A and you have recently been getting over your ex and finding happiness again and just really loving yourself, then that could be a sign that your union is coming very, very soon. Now with person B, we also have a huge leap because look at this. Events moving at a fast pace, delays are over, many things happening at once. So person B was struggling, they were crawling, progressing really, really slowly, getting frustrated because this person is fiery. And if you put this fiery energy in an earth environment, this fast blazing energy in such a slow and dense energy, it's going to drive them crazy. So B will have reached a point where they're really getting frustrated with the lack of progress or the lack of recognition in their endeavors. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, boom, person B blows up. Delays are over, many things happening at once. Person B is going to start achieving so much professional and material success. I feel like person B is not going to know what to do with it. They're going to be totally taken aback. It's going to be a little bit unexpected. For an example, let's say they were a YouTuber, a content creator, and all of a sudden this video that they made 3 years ago goes viral, and then they start getting attention and they're like, what? When did this happen? And now all of a sudden they can't deal with the amount of, I don't know, brand deals coming in or the amount of DMs they have. It just suddenly blows up like this. So if you are resonating with person B, when your career starts to do the most, that is the sign that you're very, very close to your union. Now, for the union between person A and person B, we have the 8 of Earth. So this is actually quite a clear sign that you will come together in some sort of working environment. Maybe person A meets person B through their work, or person B meets person A through their work, or you guys may come together and collaborate on something. I wouldn't be surprised if person A was also creative with all this water energy going on. I mean, they got to channel their emotions somehow, right? And I'm sort of getting this feeling, like I said, this is the side that has been okay materially but has struggled emotionally. And this has been the opposite of that. So okay emotionally but has struggled materially. Now it's a matter of meshing together and working together and creating something. And I think that you guys will learn a lot from each other. It says learning all there is to know about a topic. So maybe you guys are in the same field of work, but in different subgenres, if that makes sense. Like, you don't have exactly the same career, but they're similar enough that you could work together on something. And it says skilled work is rewarded. So you're both coming together and putting in really good quality work and making something really nice. I think for a lot of you, it's going to be a collaboration. For a few of you, it could be that you meet at school, because this card is also about going to school, going back to school. But yes, something like this, a work environment, a school environment, and I think there's going to be some level of collaboration between the two of you, okay? So now let's look at these 3 cards to see what happens after your initial union. We have Ego, the Knight of Air, and the 6 of Water. So let's look at Ego. This talks about a false sense of entrapment, being overly focused on material things, negative or fear-based thoughts. So maybe, since it does look like you guys are coming together in a work situation, maybe the work that you're doing sort of takes over your relationship, and then it's a little bit harder to focus on the romantic aspect. You feel trapped, like you can't be together. Maybe some of you have to keep your relationship a secret or something like that. Like you shouldn't be together because you're working together. Or, you know, if person B is blowing up, maybe there's some eyes on them, but it feels like you're trapped for a little bit. You have some negative beliefs. Maybe you think it's not going to work out because there's too much of a focus on the material aspect, on the work that you guys are doing. But with the Knight of Air, this definitely shows that you are going to overcome that. Take time to carefully review your options, creative solutions. So I feel like you guys are going to find a loophole to be together, or you will find a way over the barriers that this 8 of Earth presents. You're going to find a way to make it work, even if it's a matter of just saying, screw it, I know we shouldn't be together, but we're going to do it anyway. Even if it's just a matter of that. You know, it could be that your peers, the people around you, would think a certain way, but I think you're just going to say, you know what, we're just going to do what we want, because that's definitely in the nature of person B. And now I do think with the very emotional person A, if they're taken by someone, if they really start falling for someone, they'll do anything, like they'll go for it. Because we saw in this 2 of Water, person A really gives all of their heart when they love someone. So something like this is not going to stop them. Maybe temporarily, but it's not going to stop them. Yeah, so you guys will get over that pretty quickly, I think. And then we have the 6 of Water. Now this is a home, this is family. And interestingly, we had for person A, the 10 of Water to the 9 of Water. And you know, in the very beginning, I was talking about them just having this sort of instinctive feeling like something is missing. Probably they never figured out what that was. And then when they get together with you, they're like, oh my gosh, that's what was missing when I was 6. That was that lingering sad feeling. I finally feel fulfilled now. What the heck? And that's going to be such a really nice realization. But yeah, there's huge sense of familiarity between the 2 of you. And I mean, I'm not surprised with you guys having so many lives together as spouses or romantic partners. I think you'll probably settle into each other quite quickly. Now, you may actually move in together quite quickly as well, with this Six of Water being about the home. And some of you may even have children pretty quickly if that's what you want. If that's what you don't want and you are a heterosexual couple, I would be careful. Yeah, so yeah, but it looks really happy. I mean, you'll each have your own respective struggles, but what's really cool about this story is that the moment before the union is when things start to look up in your own respective lives. So that could be a really clear sign for you. If you've struggled and you start noticing in your life, wow, things are getting better now. I'm feeling a lot better now. That's the sign, like, oop, that means your soulmate's coming. You better get ready. You better shave your legs, you know? So, okay, I'm going to end the reading there. Thank you very, very much for letting me read for you. I hope you guys liked this new style of reading and that it was easy enough to follow. I know I was going back and forth a lot, but I wanted to try something new. And I thought the heart shape was cute. So I hope you have a wonderful day or night whenever you're watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like doing that. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye! Hi number 4s, so if you chose this purple deck right here, this is your twin flame or soulmate journey. So as you can see, I've already laid some cards out. I've put them in the shape of a heart, and the way I wanted to do this is that this card here is going to represent who you guys are as souls and the experiences you've had together up until now, like in past lives, and sort of sets the tone for how you're coming into this lifetime. Then where the heart separates here, we have you guys, I guess, being born, coming into the world. So this is your early life, your grown-up life, the moment before union, and then this card at the bottom of the heart where you come back together represents your union. So each side of the heart will represent a different counterpart, and I'm going to read them as person A and person B so that you can listen and determine which side is resonating for you and which side is resonating for your counterpart. And at the end, I'm also going to look at these 3 cards here, and this is going to show us what happens after this union. What is your relationship like? Okay, so let's start with the top here. So for your past experiences together, who you are as souls, we have the 5 of Cups. So I think that you guys have had some sad experiences together, where your lives have ended in separation. You didn't end up together, and this time you're ready for change. With the number 5 representing change, I think this is the lifetime where you overcome that heartbreak. Now, alternatively, this could be that you guys have just been through some really sad times together. Like you stayed together, you didn't separate, but maybe you went through a lot of tragedies together, or you dealt with poverty together. You've been through some tough situations, but that means that you guys have grown a lot together as souls. I think the vibe that I'm picking up for this one, kind of similar to pile 2, is that you guys are members of the same soul family who work together really, really well, and because of your bond, you're able to face life's greatest challenges together. Sometimes you make it through to the end together, sometimes you don't, but I think you guys have been through some pretty tall hurdles together. You've been through a lot. Okay, so now let's look at you guys coming into the world and what your early life was like. So for person A, their early life, we have the world. So I think that person A had a very interesting upbringing. This may have been a person who, for example, because of one of their parents' jobs, they were moving around a lot, maybe even living in some overseas countries as they grew up. They could have been one of those kids who was changing schools all the time. So they spent a couple years in this country, a couple years in this country. And so they've had a lot of a lot of experience in many different places. Or it could just be that they were born in one country and moved to another one. It doesn't have to be so frequent, but I think that there is some aspect of travel in their childhood. Now that I think about it, it could just be that they were born into a kind of well-off family and they were able to go on a lot of vacations and travel a lot. But in any case, I think that person A has had a lot of experiences that most kids didn't have. They got to see a lot of sights, meet a lot of people, and had a very, very interesting and very diverse upbringing. I also think that because of their moving around, they became very good at socializing. So they're, they're very good at making friends fast with people, or they have a very a very wide and diverse circle of friends. And I think that there's a lot of confidence in person A as well. Now with person B, their early life is represented by the strength card. This strength card has shown up in 3 out of the 4 readings. That's interesting. But the energy that I'm picking up with this one is that from a very early age, person B had to become very responsible. They had to assume a lot of responsibility for themselves. And this could be for a number of reasons. It could be that their parents were very strict, and so they put that responsibility on them and really, made them take care of themselves. Maybe their parents sort of had a tough love kind of style of parenting, where if person B as a kid was, crying or complaining, instead of being coddled, they would be, deal with it or figure it out on your own, this kind of thing. They may have gotten a little bit of tough love like that. So it could be a matter of strict parents, or it could actually even be the opposite, where the parents didn't put a lot of effort and they sort of just left person B to their own devices. Oh my gosh, I think that's what it is. And so they just kind of had to figure things out for themselves. Or it could be one of the situations where their parents work really late, so they have to come home from school, make themselves do their homework, make themselves dinner, do a lot of housework, this kind of thing. I feel like person B grew up really early, and so they had to become strong on their own. And when something was bothering them or when they didn't know something, they just figured it out. They never went to a parent or went to someone else. They figured it out on their own. So yeah, basically they hardened up and became very strong from a young age. And I think that person B would be a lot more prepared for the real world, so to speak, than the average child. Yes. Okay, so now let's take a look at the adult life. So for person A, we have the 4 of Wands. Now this is kind of similar to the last reading, and I think this could be referring to a serious relationship that person A had. This is a marriage card, so they might have been married before, but that's not going to be for everybody. They could have met someone who they really, really thought was their soulmate, or they kind of felt like they had their life made. I have the job I want, I have this awesome life, I have the partner I want. Because this is a very celebratory and joyous card. So I think in their grown-up life, person A really thought, wow, I have everything going for myself. I'm living the dream life. Now, because of the card that comes after, I think that something happened and this life kind of fell apart. So maybe the relationship that they thought was the one ended, or the job that they had that they thought was their dream job came to an end, but something that they thought they had it made, they thought it was their destiny, sort of fell apart. And I think that was very disillusioning for person A, and then they really didn't know where to go after that. Now for person B, I think person B is the more independent one, and I think they have a little bit more of a tough skin, a little bit more of a work ethic. So I see like person B was very responsible, probably got, they went to school, they got a good paying job, and they have a solid income, they pay all the bills, they're very, very responsible, but it's a lot more, I think it's a lot more practical. It's a lot more humble. I wouldn't say necessarily that person B feels like they're living their dream life, but they're living a comfortable life. They're living a content life. They get everything done that they need to get done. They make ends meet. It's this kind of thing. It's contentment. So whereas person A, I think, went really high, and then they fell from that really high place. So it was a little bit more disillusioning, sort of disappointing energy for person A, whereas person B is just being practical, realistic, you know, going to work. This would be the type of person maybe who has a 9 to 5 or a more conventional job, a more reasonable and predictable sort of job. Okay, so now we have the moments before the union. Person A is appearing as the 9 of Wands, and to me this has the energy of just keep going, don't give up on yourself. So I think that after this experience where they thought that everything in life was great, they had it made, everything was perfect, and it fell apart, there's perhaps a period where person A was really ready to give up, to just throw in the towel, like kind of give up on themselves. But in the moments before the union, it will be when they come to this conclusion, like, you know what, I can build myself up again. I don't want to give up on myself. You know, there's still so much I want to do. There's still so much I want to live for. And I'm not going to let this defeat me. This 9 of Wands has a very fighter spirit, very don't give up. And, you know, you're almost there. You've come so far. Don't quit now. So this is kind of the moment where their faith in themselves is restored and their faith in life is restored. And they're going to sort of give it another shot, you know, dust themselves off, get back up, maybe get back into the dating world, or, you know, apply for another job, whatever it is they need to feel like they're back on their feet again. They're gonna, you know, honor that and start to love themselves and care for themselves and try to make the life they know that they deserve. So that's going to be the stage that person A is at right before the union. So if you guys are resonating with person A and you're sort of in a transitional phase in your life right now and there's uncertainty, but you really want to push through because you owe it to yourself and you have this newfound motivation, then this could be a sign that the union with your soulmate is coming very soon. And I just saw 1111 on the timer of the camera. So yes, this is a huge confirmation. When person A sets the intention that things are going to turn around, my life is going to get better now, they're going to manifest this union very quickly. Now for person B, we have the Page of Swords. So in the moments before the union for person B, I think they're going to start to get this little itch to try something new. Because like I said, they've been very practical. They've been very, you know, consistent their whole life. I think they have a secure job. Maybe person B has only had one job, like they've worked the same job for a very long time, or just have worked in a similar field because it was what they were familiar with, it was what they knew was going to pay the bills. But they're going to start to get a little itch, the Page of Swords, because this is, you know, youth, energetic, innovation, you know, stimulating your intellect. I think person B is going to start feeling, yeah, I want to maybe switch things up a little bit, maybe choose a new path, maybe relocate. But basically, I think person B is going to be feeling kind of bored. Like they have all this energy and inspiration within them, but not really an outlet for them because their life is so predictable and it's a lot of the same stuff. And it's like, what's the point of security? What am I sustaining if I'm not living, if I'm not enjoying myself? So they're going to kind of want to break free, I think, and try something new. They're going to get this new inspiration, or this new area is going to pique their interest. So if you are person B and you're getting a little tired of the way your life is going and you're starting to consider a new path, this is a sign that your soulmate union is imminent. Now, this is kind of interesting. For the card representing your union, we have the 5 of Swords. So I feel that when you guys meet each other, you may not like each other that much, or you may not click right away, because the Five of Swords, there is sort of an energy of a rivalry or a conflict. And so maybe you just don't really click, or you disagree on a lot of things. I do think that you will have quite different, disposition, different personalities. I think person A is very larger than life and very charming and outgoing and very lively, this sort of energy, whereas person B is a little bit more humble, a little bit more unassuming. So you might not get on super well. Maybe there's just not a lot for you to talk about, or there could be some things that, set you off from each other. But that's just the first impression. But I'm not really seeing this thing where you meet them and right away you're like, oh my God, that's my soulmate. So that can also be a reassuring message, because maybe you've been struggling to determine if someone is your soulmate or not, and you've read all of these things online, or you've heard these videos of like, oh, when you meet your soulmate, you just instantly fall in love with them, you just instantly know. But it's not always the case. So don't feel bad if you haven't experienced that. And if you meet someone and you don't feel that, it doesn't mean that they're not your soulmate. Sometimes you have to just give it time and get to know each other. And your first impression of someone is not always correct. One of my best friends now, we've been really close friends for years, his first impression of me was that I was a crazy, annoying bitch. So you just never know. You just really never know. Anyway, yeah, so I think things might kind of get off on a weird foot for you guys for your union. Don't feel bad about it at all. These things are not always like the fairy tale that people paint them to be. So that being said, let's look at these 3 cards. I'm sure we will see that things look up for you guys. There's the Empress, the Star, and the Emperor. Woo! We got 3 major arcana. Yeah, so things are going to be wonderful between you guys. In fact, they're going to be better than ever expected. The Star is like, it's so good that it almost feels too good to be true. And every day you feel so excited to be with this person and so excited for the future. You really inspire each other and just liven each other up and just brighten each other's days. It's sometimes relationships, when they come off too strong and too quickly, it can be an easy come, easy go situation. I think you guys are going to kind of take your time to get to know each other, feel each other out, and gradually you start to like each other. Those butterflies start to creep up on you. And eventually you're becoming the Empress and the Emperor. Now, it doesn't matter your genders, but the Empress and the Emperor are a match. They are a couple. They're the feminine and the masculine representation of the same energy. Abundance, unconditional love, stability. This could be a sign that you will accumulate some material wealth together. I think you will be very well off financially. You'll have everything you could ever want or need. Anything you guys want to do, any dream you have, you will make it happen because you work together so well. And the way you communicate with each other, it's like whatever you want, whatever your wildest dreams are, you can tell each other, and you listen to each other's dreams and you support them and you say, we're going to make it happen. You guys are an amazing, amazing team, best friends, a great support system for each other. And these are also really good cards if you want to have a family, because the Empress is indicative of fertility and birthing things. So it doesn't necessarily have to be children if you don't want that. It could be that you are giving birth to like financial abundance or just a prosperous future. It could be more in the metaphorical sense. However, if you do want children, the Empress is a really positive sign for that. And she actually often does appear as a pregnant woman in different decks. And the Emperor as well, he is ruled by the number 4. So he is stability. He is a stable father figure. He's like, I guess, the leader or the provider of the family, and he creates a really rock solid unit. Whichever one you're resonating with, the Empress or the Emperor, I think that once you guys are together, you are going to stick together. I think pretty quickly you're going to realize that this first impression was wrong. It's probably just a matter of, you know, your the way you present yourself being so different. You're going to be like, who's this? Who's this guy? You know, but once you get to know each other, I think you'll realize at heart you're not so different after all, and you really do complete each other. Not that you're not complete on your own, but I think you know what I mean. It feels like that thing that was missing from your life, and that really makes your life like a beautiful work of art. Yeah, so I see a wonderful family coming together here, or at least a wonderful, solid, you know, happy home, a solid foundation that you can grow together. Yay! This is really strongly indicative of marriage as well, to have the Empress and the Emperor here. Yeah, you guys are going to be really rock solid. Really rock solid. Nothing can break you guys apart, you know. Nothing can come in the way. Okay, so I'm going to end the reading there. Thank you very, very much for letting me read for you. I hope you liked this new style of reading and that it was easy enough to follow. I hope you have a wonderful day or night whenever you're watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like doing that, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!